Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I do want to speak about the outcomes, right? And the conclusions coming away from this elimination against Inter Milan in the Champions League. FC Barcelona are currently going through, I would say, a dark period because we were supposed to be in this final based off how we have been performing over the past 6 to 8 months, but that has not been the case. Inter Milan were too strong. They have scored too many goals against us, and now we sit here today with only the league to compete for. So once again, I'm going to be talking about what this means for the future, right? What key takeaways have we gotten from this elimination and what these players are going to be learning, because this is a huge learning experience for most of our youngsters, which is also very important. We need these youngsters to experience huge losses like this to grow from it and become better players 2 or 3 years down the line. We do need that. So I'm going to give everybody here some context on what has been going on and what went on in this match against Inter Milan if you guys have missed it. So if you guys are new here, welcome to the channel. I'm happy that you guys are here. If you guys are FC Barcelona fans, this is going to be the channel for you. This is where we do talk about everything regarding FC Barcelona. So if you guys end up getting value in this video, please click the thumbs up button and also subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it. So first things first, let's talk about the context and what has been going on, right? Inter Milan win 4-3 on aggregate, ending Barcelona's first season treble dream under Hansi Flick. Barcelona led at 1.32 with 2 minutes left, but Acerbi did score on the 91st minute, leading to us going to extra time, and then Fratesi scored his goal on the 99th minute, which flipped the tie. It was a huge blow for these players. And you know the scenes at San Siro, right? We saw the Barcelona players in tears. Gerard Martin was crying. Lamine Yamal was also very upset. Rafinha was on the ground. He did not even want to talk to anybody after Barcelona got eliminated. And Inter Milan went on to celebrate. And they went on and they said, you know, we are the best, one of the best teams in the world. We have defeated a team that is the highest goal scoring team in Europe. And so they were very happy. And we saw the crowd applaud not only the Inter Milan players, but they also applaud the Barcelona players because they brought in a good fight, which was something that I do respect a lot. It was beautiful to see. So one of the things that really caught my eye, though, was after the elimination, Inigo Martinez came out and he stated on a post on Instagram, and I quote, "Where others see the end, we see the beginning." And that is going to be the main theme of this video. Is I really do think, like, this is my way of thinking. I really do think that this is nowhere near the end. This is not the end at all. I believe that this is something that has started off just a series of dominations, seasons of domination, right? This is a brand new beginning. This is not the end. And you know, I would say that this is a year, which is Flick's first year, where we saw a lot of European trauma, and we have gone through that European trauma and showcased that we're not a team that just crumbles very easy. Yes, we have had a lot of, I would say, high-stake moments, a lot of drama, a lot of anxiety, but we persevered through that multiple times. It just so happens that in this game against Inter Milan, this was the final nail in the coffin where we could not go through this big obstacle against Inter Milan. It was the first real big test, and now I believe that these players will learn something new from this. Once again, we'll be talking about this in just a few minutes. So I do think that as of now, Barcelona have erased old scars. That is just my way of thinking, and based off what we have seen over the past few years. We have erased old scars. We're not a team that crumbles because we're down 1-0, or crumbles because we're down 2-0, or we don't react whatsoever. We have erased that scar. It's no longer there. We have upgraded from this because we have beaten Bayern, for example, in the group stages. We have won all the possible Clásicos. We have gotten 2 trophies so far, and we're in the semifinals of the Champions League, and once again knocked out, but still in the semifinals of the Champions League, unheard of since 2019. So this is a very big deal because Barcelona, we're not supposed to be here. If you really think about it, right? Like, really think about this. I'm going to add this here. This Barcelona team that we saw go up against Inter Milan, only 5 players in this squad. They weren't in the starting 11, but there were 5 players in this squad. that had semifinal experience in the Champions League, going up against Inter Milan, a very experienced team, Inter Milan team that has been through high stake moments before, semifinal experiences, right? We only had 5 players that had semifinal Champions League experience, and that is Frankie de Jong, Lewandowski, Dani Olmo, Andreas Christensen, and Ter Stegen, which is insane. The rest of the other players, all of our youngsters mainly, never experienced a semifinal match in the Champions League. This was the first one, and it just so happens to be against Inter Milan, right? Marc-Andre Ter Stegen was in the semifinal before, twice, I believe, back in the 2014-2015 season under Luis Enrique, and the other one was in the match against Liverpool at Anfield. And then we have Robert Lewandowski. He was in the semifinals before, back in the 2012-2013 with Borussia Dortmund. And he had multiple runs in the semifinals of the Champions League with Bayern Munich. And he failed in some, but won in some. He played in 4 finals, lifted the cup back in 2020. So he is a consistent role model. I really wish Lewandowski was here with us from the very beginning in this tie against Inter, but we could not have Lewandowski's experience on the pitch 100% of the time. Frankie de Jong also had experience, right? This is not the first time he has been knocked out in the semifinals of the Champions League. This happened back in the 2018-2019 season with Ajax. Ajax were in the semifinal run. I believe it was against who was against, but I don't know if it was either Tottenham. It probably was Tottenham or Real Madrid. They knocked out Real Madrid for sure, but I believe it was Tottenham. But yeah, Frankie de Jong was a player that has now experienced 2 semifinal defeats in his career. Andreas Christensen was also in the semifinals before, back in the 2020-2021 season with Chelsea. Dani Olmo as well in the semifinals of the Champions League with RB Leipzig back in the 2019-2020 season. So we did have a couple of players, but not as much compared to Inter Milan and their players. With the amount of semifinal experience, they knew what they needed to do. They knew how to persevere. Now, knowing that players like Pedri, Yamal, Kubarsi, Alejandro Balde, even though he did not play, but you get the point, Hector Fort, the fact that all these players now have semifinal Champions League experience, I know that they're going to carry this experience and move this towards the next season and just ask, how can we do better? It's a really big deal. So this is going to lead me towards the next conversation. Why does this defeat against Inter Milan feel different compared to the defeat against Liverpool, right? Which was the most previous semifinal that we have been through before the one against Inter Milan, right? This was the one back in at Anfield with Lionel Messi, with Suarez, with Coutinho. It was very much a different time. How does this semifinal experience differ from also the one against Roma in 2018, PSG in 2017, right? I believe that there's a lot to look forward to in terms of how we got knocked out against Inter Milan. Like, what is the context behind it? I do think that, right? Let's really think about this. The mental collapse that we have gone through against Liverpool, we saw it twice back in those years. One against Liverpool 4-0, and then one against Roma 0-3. There was a mental collapse there. How does that compare with the season today? We have shown resilience. 8 comeback wins this season. We have fought back from a 2-0 down scoreline twice in the tie. So we have the resilience compared to what we saw back in 2018 and 2019. There was also another thing, right? Back in the 2017-2022 years, right? That little era, the squad was really old. There was a lot of patchwork signings that were being made as well. They're like, okay, let's just sign this player just for this season. We'll see how it turns out for the next season. Very short-term solutions, short-minded. And that was also a squad that was very heavy in terms of wages. How does that compare with today? I believe that we have a younger core with players who do not take out a lot of wages. We have a clear sporting project that is revolving around the La Masia graduates. So it's very different, right? Very different. Then we can talk about going back to the 2017, 2020, 2022 years. We had a lot of tactical rigidity, right? Very flat coming from Ernesto Valverde, Quique Setién, and Ronald Koeman. It was not the best, right? Their tactics, their way of trying to solve certain problems when they were down, it was not the best. How does that compare with today, right? How we got out today? We showed that we have modern proactive pressing. We're fluid with the 3-2-5 formation, the 4-3-3 formation as well. We rotate under Hansi Flick. It is amazing how we do play and how we solve solutions. Once again, going back to the 2017-2022 years, the club at that time was in turmoil financially, right? It was bad. For today, this season, and how we are moving forward to this summer, it's still financially very, very tricky, but the sporting department is very much stable, right? Way more stable compared to how we had our sporting department back in 2017, 18, 19, and 20, right? We can pick certain players from La Masia that can further improve our squad. We have a clear idea on what players from La Masia are successful. Where Yamal is successful, Kubarsi is successful, Balde is successful, Gavi is successful. It's working. How we train these players from the academy and moving them to the first team, it is all working. We could not say that back then. And I believe that this whole thing between Flick and Deco, their alignment, the way that they view the future of Barcelona, it's very clear. And then lastly, going back to the 2017-2022 years, Europe saw Barcelona as a fading giant, a team that was reaching its end. Because when we saw that loss against Liverpool back in Anfield, it was a squad that had Messi, that had Suarez, that had Alba, that had Piqué, that had Lenglet, Coutinho. And when you look at those players, we're like, okay, they dominated football for many years, even with Sergio Busquets, right? Sergio Busquets was also there. They're like, okay, these players, they dominated Europe for so many years, but it does not look like they have the exact same magic. Like, they can still win games, but they don't have the exact same magic that they did back in 2015 or the years of 2010, 11, and 12, right? With Alba, with Piqué, and other players. And so everybody said, okay, their time is done here. Like, they're going to maybe be competitive at the very most, but nothing more. Their time is done. They cannot reach the finals no more. They crumble so easy. And it was truly the end. That was the main talk of that semifinal run, right? Was it's over. Would they have to restart the project? They have to do something. They have to switch out these veterans and bring in new youngsters. And at that time, going back to the sporting department, they did not even think about trying to bring in La Masia players into the first team and see how that first team can improve with it. They did not think about that. They just said, we're just going to do patchwork. Let's just sign Paulinho, and let's just sign, who else can we sign to fix our short-term problems? Like, it was just random signings. It was a fading giant. Everybody knew that these group of players were finished. And once again, how does that compare to what we see today? I believe that the respect has been restored in this Barcelona badge. I really do think that all European football fans respect Barcelona because we are a very young squad, a squad that tries, a squad that scores a lot of goals. And you cannot say that this team is finished when you see Lamine Yamal at 17 completing 14 dribbles against Inter Milan, or Pedri having a masterclass, or Kubarsi having one of the best defensive performances in Europe. You cannot just say that this team is finished. This is just the beginning, right? Going back to what we said in the beginning of the video, it's not a team that's finished. It's a team that is just getting started. Inigo Martinez pointed that out very clearly. And what's crazy is that he's 33 years old, and he's saying this as if like he's 23 years old. He knows that he's going to be leaving way before players like Pedri, Yamal, and Kubarsi, but he believes that this squad is going to run for the next 5 to 6 years, right? So this Barcelona team that we're seeing right now is walking so we can run for the next 5 to 6 years. We're going to take this experience, this loss in the semifinal, and learn from it. And it's going to be beautiful. And you know what this reminds me of? It's going to lead me towards this conversation here, right? There is a boxing parallel. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Canelo Alvarez and his loss against Floyd Mayweather. This was around a time back in 2000 and I would say 14, 15, or 16. It was very much like around 10 years ago. But Canelo at this time, when he fought Floyd Mayweather, Canelo was 23, very young. Floyd was like at his all-time high. He was he was the best boxer at that time, and Floyd was dominating every opponent, undefeated. And Floyd was very much experienced here. He was 34 years old. So Floyd at 34 years old, Canelo at 23 years old. Who do you think was going to win in this game? It was Floyd, and Floyd dominated Canelo. He whooped him. He whooped his ass so many times, and Canelo did not take this defeat lightly. He was young. He thought he could win, but he learned from this. I believe there's a quote, right? This was like considered as like an early defeat against the best for Canelo. Yeah, he was 23 years old back on September 2013, outboxed by Floyd Mayweather, and he said that this was a very big learning experience, a feeling I never want to experience again. This exactly does align with what we have heard with Pedri, with Gavi, and all these youngsters, right? They know that this is a very big learning experience. They never want to feel this experience again, and that's just how it's going to be. Canelo now, today, fast forward 12 years later, at the age of 32, 33 years old, now he's at the level, or at the very least close to Floyd Mayweather in terms of him being undefeated. He is one of the best boxers in the world, right? He's dominating every opponent. He recently just won back on May 3rd, right? Undefeated. No one can defeat Canelo today, and that is because of the learning experience he had at a young age. So this has been a immediate lesson that has been absorbed by Canelo, right? Canelo rebuilt his style from there. He had a more tighter defense, improved his foot placement. He added more counterpunch layers. Then he went on to go undefeated for 16 games. And for Hansi Flick, it's the same thing. And with FC Barcelona, they have turned past traumas into fuel, right? They have 8 comeback wins this season, wins over Bayern and Real Madrid, and self-belief to nearly overturn a 2-0 deficit twice. It's insane what athletes like Canelo have been able to do, because when you look at this, you can say, okay, this can actually be repeated. We have seen things like this happen before, and the same thing can be translated to FC Barcelona. It is very much possible. Things like this in sports do exist. So it's also a mindset shift from hurt to hunger for Canelo. And that is also going to be translated to FC Barcelona and its players if they do this correctly. Like what Inigo Martinez said, where others see the end, we see the beginning. And it does show a similar reframing. The loss hurts, but it maps the distance that they still must travel, right? These players will get through it. And that is why I'm not really too hurt about FC Barcelona being knocked out by Inter. It's only the beginning, and we're only going to go up from here. And the fact that we have I would just say, the chance of winning 3 trophies this season, that's really good. I call that a successful season. So what does this tell us about the elite development? Okay, this is going to be another very important topic. What does this tell us? Failure is feedback and not the finale, right? Barcelona knows that physical duels and late game set piece focus are a priority fix. We have talked about that multiple times. Another thing, we need to accelerate youth development. Players like when we saw, like Lewandowski, for example, he is getting up there in age. We must find certain players, certain strikers that are younger, more flexible, more adaptable, dynamic, that can come in and replace Lewandowski in the very near future. We have done well with the absence of Gundogan, right? We have let go of Gundogan like 6-7 months ago, back in the summer of 2024, replace him with Fermin Lopez. We had more faith in Fermin Lopez, and now look how it's turning out. It's working. So we need to accelerate the youth development more and more when we have those chances. Long runaway beats quick fixes, right? I believe that Barca's core will be in ideal prime around 2027. This is going to be my theory, right? This is going to be I would just say my statement, right? Barcelona's core will be in the ideal prime around the age of 2027. Not the age of 2027. I mean, around the year of 2027. We just need to have financial stability for now to sign key players in case La Masia cannot produce certain players in certain positions. And I think that we'll be fine from here, because time will only help us, right? Pedri will be 25 or 26. Gavi will be around his mid-20s. Lamine Yamal will finally reach the age of 20, 21 years old. 2027 feels like the ideal year for us to truly be the team that we want to be. Because once again, this team is very young. We have done well. And I do think that if you were to ask me, could we win a Champions League in 2026? Of course we could. But I think that by 2027, it will give us enough time and it will give these players enough experiences to know exactly what this team is, who are the main A-game players, and they'll reach their peak. And they're going to stay at their peak for a very long time. And hopefully, it does happen, because sometimes what stops these players from not reaching their peak or not maintaining their peak is injuries. So injuries is something that we also have to take care of, which is now going to lead me towards the last conversation for today, and that is critical takeaways for the next 3 to 5 years. Okay, this is going to kind of like wrap around everything that we have talked about in this whole video. So we have the mentality foundation. Okay, I think that coming back from deficits and nearly doing it twice in one tie is signaling a cultural reset. We know that these players can come back when they're 2-0 down, 3-0 down, 1-0 down. This is no longer an issue. It used to be an issue, but it's no longer an issue. The mentality is there, and it has been instilled by Hansi Flick. So we have belief, not fear anymore. Point number 2, La Masia is going to lead our next dynasty, right? It's what's going to give this next dynasty potential. With Yamal, Pedri, I know that Pedri is not from La Masia, but you understand the point. With Gavi, these players are here to stay. And Fermin Lopez, another player that has been doing so well, scoring goals, providing assists, we can bet on the player. Kubarsi, Hector Ford, Dadovic has also been a player that has been talked about. We have the Fernandez brothers, like Willy Fernandez, Tony Fernandez coming up. We have to bet on La Masia, because this is what's going to lead us towards our next big dynasty. We're only going to go up from here. Gerard Martin, even though, yes, I know that he's not technically La Masia, he played in the academy before, but he's quickly showing at the age of 23 years old that he can be a reliable left back. He had two assists against Inter Milan, and so he did amazing. Barcelona can keep a high ceiling without major spending, and that's very important. If we want to further this dynasty, this project, La Masia is where it's at. Revolving back to what we said before, I believe that the peak age will align between 2027 and 2030, right? It's going to very much align to the multi-year window that we had with Xavi, Iniesta, and Messi back in 2008, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Right, we had Xavi, Iniesta, and Messi before 2008, but they peaked at between 2008 and 2012. The same thing can be said for the group of players that we have today. They can peak between 2027 all the way until maybe 2032, 2033. The age range is there. And then we do have the European credibility rebuild. We also got that, right? We have a lot of respect from other European teams and fans. We have the credibility. We have, once again, earned the respect. We have won Bayern. We have won Madrid, Benfica, Atletico Madrid. We don't have the stage fright narrative that everybody talks about and how Barcelona likes to choke and stuff like no one can be serious and say Barcelona are chokers, right? I've seen some people say Barcelona are chokers. They choked the treble. That's false. This whole narrative about having stage fright and choking and feeling the pressure when you're playing against these other big teams, it's no longer there. I see this team that wants to fight, right? They go down with honor. We are now a team that nobody wants to draw, and that's a fact, right? We have now reached a whole other different level. Once again, if we want to maintain this level and be that team that does not have stage fright, a team that nobody wants to draw, a team that's competitive, that can score a lot of goals, we must prioritize La Masia. We must prioritize our current youngsters. And at the same time, let's not go into every transfer window and outspend every other European team in the world, right? We have to be financially responsible and make sure that, okay, We have Yamal here, we have Rafinha there. Maybe we have a weak spot on the right back position. Maybe we can spend money there, right? We cannot just go like that's fine, but we cannot just say let's spend money for the right back position, spend money for the striker position, spend money for the central midfield position. We cannot do that, right? Barcelona have to operate in a very different way, and especially with these brand new, I would just say strict rules that is being implemented by Javier Tebas. The success is in La Masia. So we have the semifinal experience that is gained and was very much needed for our youngsters. They needed this. They needed this hit, just like Canelo needed that hit against Mayweather. And because of that, I believe that Barcelona will be successful. The areas that I believe that need attention would be the squad depth and rotations, for sure. We saw a lot of players go through fatigue. Inigo Martinez left the game against Inter because it was just simply fatigue. He was just so tired. His muscles could not give no more. The injuries did expose us slightly. For example, we did not have the fullbacks that we needed in this game against Inter, which showcases that we need to reinforce those areas. Balde was injured, Jules Koundé was also injured, and we need better reinforcements. Of course, we have Gerard Martin, Hector Fort, but we just need an extra layer just in case. And Inter Milan won on the physical edge, right? Because we lacked with our fullbacks and with Lewandowski as well. We also need to work on set piece defending. Okay, now that I saw this match against Inter, set piece defending is very important. Acerbi and Fratesi scored their goals, followed by turnover chaos, and that's not good. And then, of course, we need financial discipline, right? Make sure that our wages are okay, that we don't overspend, that we don't offer Lamine Yamal and other players like Pedri like 35 million euros a season just because they have done this. Because you know what that does? If you give these players like 25, 35, 40 million euros a season, like Yamal and Pedri, it's going to translate to the other players in the squad. And they're going to be asking, hey, how come I don't get that piece of the pie? How come I don't get paid that much? Like, what's going on here? So we have to make sure that we maintain a good level of financial health. And most importantly, prioritize the sporting health over anything else. And once again, it comes through La Masia. So that is going to be the bottom line. That is going to be my key takeaways for this match against Inter Milan. This is how I believe Barcelona should move forward. And once again, this is not a step down. It is a step forward, 2 steps forward. Barcelona have taken a step down momentarily against Inter, but they will take 3 steps forward. It is a net positive for this whole team. So that is it. That is going to be wrapping up today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.